Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And of course, we got to talk about this good interview that Joseline did with Carlos King. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys have been under a rock today or anything like that, or you happen to miss it. But if you did, now is our opportunity to have a little ponderosa about it. Sky Squad, we back in the building. All right. Now, let's get into the tea of it all. If you watch this interview, then you might have caught the shade near the end. And this is part one only part one. But I honestly thought this was really good because what I look at when I look at an interview is I look at what can I take away from this? What can I personally take away from this conversation, this ponderosa? What can I learn about the business? What can I learn about this person behind the personality? Because they talk about that. And we'll talk about a few of those things. But one of the highlights of this is, and I really debated about whether or not I would actually talk about it in this video or like really bring it up. But because I do feel like she didn't say Nene's name, I feel like she referenced Nene, and I feel like she kind of heavily shaded Nene. How so? Much of the interview, Joseline talks about her opinion of herself, okay, that she has always been a superstar. She's always felt like she was a superstar. The network treated her like she was a superstar, and so forth. So she comes with a very high opinion of herself. Now, I personally, I think that there's things like there's meat on those bones that you can take away. And then there's bones that you're going to have to spit out with this conversation. Let me start by saying that, right? And what I mean by that is we are talking about someone who has typically been rewarded for bad behavior on some of the shows that she's been on. We can't get around that. But we also cannot get around one of the things that she says that I thought was super important, and that is this: in this life, you have to make your own opportunities. And what she is saying about, and as she doesn't name her by name, she pretty much almost does. She really talks about how she's not going to be one of those people one of those women that come on Carlos King's show and cries about why they aren't where they're supposed to be. Okay, whether it is in this reality TV space or in life in general. She's not going to come on here and cry and complain, okay, about why she isn't where she's supposed to be and why somebody else is where they at, right? In case you guys didn't know, Nene did kind of compare herself to Kim Kardashian just a little bit. Joseline goes on to say, it's not your turn. Okay, sometimes it's not your turn. But we also get a little dose of like maybe Kenya Moore too, because Kenya Moore and Carlos both kind of talked about how underrated Kenya Moore was as a talent on reality television. Now, there's a lot to unpack here because there are a lot of nuances that come along with this. Joseline also being, as she calls herself, the Puerto Rican princess. Does that play into any of this? You know what I'm saying? Versus these two Black women who have come on his platform and expressed how they have felt that they have been wronged in this business. Okay. So there's that to unpack as well, right? I don't want to skip over that nuance because I know someone is going to mention it. But in general, with how I look at life for me personally, is I do believe that Joseline's story is one that is relatable for me in terms of Joseline said when she knew it was time for her to leave. First of all, let's talk about her pay. Joseline says she started off making maybe 1,300 per episode. Within a week, they had bumped her up to what, like 11,000 per episode, and then up from there. And she left Love and Hip Hop allegedly making $50,000 per episode and $200,000 to $250,000 for pickups. Okay, she had that in her contracts. She also says that she never really even needed to have that whole pay bump conversation because they kept automatically raising her pay. They were still offering her more money to come back for Love and Hip Hop, even when she knew that there was nothing else there for her to do. And if she needed to take a pay cut to move in another direction, then she would, because she's talked specifically about, her and Carlos talked specifically about, not relying on the white man. And for those of you guys who are white, take no offense to that, because what we're talking about is the establishment, right? The network, the establishment that has been uh typically lorded over by white men for years, right? And what they're saying here is, when she decided to leave Love and Hip Hop, she gave Carlos King a call. Okay. So, number one, she always knew her value, she knew her worth. She left before, okay, they ever decided that they wanted to get rid of her. She knew that is a lesson that I took from this. It's like, you got to know the value, you got to know the value that you bring. Now, one could definitely argue, again, like I said, that she had been rewarded for bad behavior. She's had all kinds of incidents and things like that. But at the end of the day, I can't knock somebody who understands their value. That part I cannot knock. I can't. Additionally, I cannot also knock the fact that she also considers herself, she does not deny that she's Puerto Rican, but she does not deny that she is black. The other aspect of that is that when it came down to it and she left, she knew the value of what she brought to the table. She called Carlos and they got to work on ideas. So much so that apparently Carlos was the one who made the introductory pitch to Zeus and the powers that be over there to get Joseline her cabaret, but he could not work on the project, and they both wanted him. Zeus and Joseline wanted him to work on the project with him. So what do we, and I know you could look at the headline of this video and you could think, oh, well, you inferring that that's what who else would she be talking about if it wasn't Nene? Okay. And could possibly be speaking about Kenya as well. I don't know. She doesn't name them by name, but she names the women, okay, who have come on his platform and complained about why they are not where they're supposed to be. She says, I'm never gonna do that. You're not gonna hear me talk about that. You're not gonna hear me getting emotional or anything like that about things, about places where I should not be, because I am going to do the work to get there. Carlos King seconds the fact that she will work, okay? And she's smart and savvy business-wise enough that she owns Joseline's cabaret. And for many of us, we have wondered why. And there, Nene has definitely stated that there has been some blackball action, and I believe that. I believe that there has been some things that have probably been done to her, but I also believe that nothing can stop you when you are a determined person. You need to start making the right calls to the right people. You understand what I'm saying? So I took from this conversation with him, again, there's meat that I took, there's bones that I left behind. Okay? And I think that's the important thing to do when we watch these types of interviews, because she was spitting some good stuff. and that's what I took from it. Now, the other thing that I we got to talk about, she does kind of go in on some of the Love and Hip Hop cast members, but not in the way that you would think. Okay. I found Joseline to be pretty complimentary of the likes of Carly Red, Rashida, Mimi, K Michelle, for the most part. When I was expecting more shade, she complimented them, about being beautiful, wanting the best for them. You know, there were some little digs here and there. One of the biggest was that she said that she thinks it's time for Rashida to be done with Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, as you guys can see here, title from the neighborhood talk. And she says she also needs to leave Kirk in the process. She said it's 20 years later. Grow up, get you some good, clunker in your life. All right. Basically, what she was talking about was she was like, "Yo, this man didn't embarrass you. Had a whole nother baby on you on the show." She was like, for her, there would be no more relationship, and if there was, it would be hidden in the closet, like downstairs in the basement. The only time they would be seen together would be in the house. Okay. She also said, but to her credit, she also said that she felt like Rashida was above Love and Hip Hop. Okay. Now, I feel an interesting ways about it. I think that, for some people, if you know that there's a steady income that's going to be flowing in, and you can market and promote your businesses and still be in the mix of the drama, but not in such a heavy way, you probably going to stay. That's why Yandy's still there. That's why Rashida's still there. And I feel like you also need some OG blood on these types of shows. Otherwise, it becomes a different show. All right. It becomes a different franchise. And people like familiarity. Whether they want to admit it or not, they like familiarity. And for as many people that will say, "Oh, well, why is she still on the show? Why is she still on the show?" We all understand that you still do need some grounding elements to these shows in order for them to still feel like the thing that made them great in the first place. And am I mad at Rashida for staying on the show if she can collect a coin and still market and promote these businesses? Not really, because it seems like she's still getting opportunities from it. But I also can't hate on Joseline for the moves that she's made. Do I always agree with the things that she does? No, absolutely not. But she's found a way to own what she does. And for that, I can't be mad. But I also can't overlook the fact that everybody ain't got the same level of opportunity. But what we do have is the same 24 hours in a day. And we do have the same ability to make calls and work hard and do and bust our butt to get to where we want to be. So there's a lot to unpack there. If you have not watched it, I would suggest you watch it. And look beyond what you may feel about Joseline and some of the other, wild stuff that she says throughout the interview. And if you take from it some of the lessons that she does impart, because she does impart quite a few that I took away, then I think you may enjoy the interview and you might just see where it is that I feel that she completely shaded Nene Leakes and perhaps even Kenya Moore. Does it have to be a shade that they respond to? No. But it is an interesting observation and an interesting take from another reality television star who has left the franchise that made them famous in the first place and gone on to create their own thing that they now own. I'm a big proponent of people owning their platforms, or people owning their content, or people being able to do as they want freely without having to consult with the man or anybody. I'm a big proponent of that. And that's what I took from it. Be about your business, make stuff happen on your own. Don't be afraid to start small and take one step, take maybe 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward, and utilize your resources. With that being said, that's the video. I really wanted to have a candid conversation about this because it really was something that was on my mind, like heavy. Like I was like, I've been thinking about it all day. Like, am I going? Do I want to touch this in this way? But I was like, nah. Like, let's. If I can, if you could take something away from this, I feel like take something from it versus what I know a lot of people gonna do anyway, and that's take the negative of what you think about her and then run with that versus taking the nuggets and chewing on them. Because I think it just might take you someplace. With that being said, I will catch you in the next video.